And then I'm going to move over to speculation, because there's so many times that we think we're investing, but we're actually speculating. And there's I hear coughing and like, it's obviously a thing we care about. So my Ethereum purchase was a speculation, right? And the difference between the two, because we like to call them the same thing and they're not, is when you're thinking about doing an investment, just ask yourself, am I actually buying you can call it a productive asset. Like, does it do a thing, the thing I'm buying, right? Let's say I'm going to buy a generator that I can then rent out to people. That generator does a thing. It produces electricity and people pay me for that thing, right? Or I'm gonna buy a farm, that farm produces tomatoes. I sell tomatoes, right? So you're buying an asset that does a thing. That's one quick test. Another quick test, if you like convince yourself, is does the thing that I'm buying have cash flows that I can predict? Like, can I see a way that I get money out of this thing that I'm putting money into, aside from its price rising for some reason, right? Which is a really good point when guys are like, no, this land, SGR is passing right here, which we hear a lot, right? That's speculation. Unless you have like reason to believe that the value of this thing will go up, or you're going to add value to that thing. Maybe you're going to build a building on it and then you're going to make money from that asset. You're speculating. And the only reason I bring that distinction up is you should use the 20% that we talked about earlier, or whatever your percentage is, use that for those investments. Make sense? Awesome.
Can I jump in and ask you a question?
Go.
So when you say it's only investing if you buy a thing that does a thing.
Very technical terms.
Super broad statement. I don't know how to ask this. I'm just wondering, is this always the case with investments? Are there exceptions to this rule? And what's like a simple test that you can do other than does it do a thing? Because, for example, if I buy, I don't know if this is investing or speculation.
Sure.
If I buy Facebook stock,
Yep.
and I know that the population of the world is growing, and so more people will be on social media, and so more people will need advertising so they can make money, and therefore I can get cash flow from that. Where does that fall on the spectrum?
So everyone literally crossed their legs and turned. That's like kind of scary. Okay, because Lorraine wants to answer, so I'll give my answer, then Lorraine can answer as well. In my mind, everything is an it depends, which is the most annoying thing, right? If you bought Facebook and understand this, and you have a solid theory on why Facebook will do well, that's an investment, right? If you're like, Zuckerberg is a cool guy, you're speculating. Right? And in the event that you bought into Facebook is a company that does a thing. It advertises and generates cash flows. So you can sit on this side of today and be like, okay, I think there'll be more advertising across the next year. There's reason for me to believe Facebook will make more money and my stock price will go up, right? Without going into why stock prices go up. So that and otherwise it's a speculation. It's also really similar for stuff that you do for yourself, right? Like you can invest in yourself and get a degree or whatever it is, right? If you are thoughtful about that choice and you're like, okay, by me doing this, then I make more money, right? You're investing in yourself. Because you can then say, how much more money will I make? This much. Oh, how much is this gonna cost me? This much. Does this math make sense? No? Don't do it, right? And the other reasons to do a degree, just know that if you're measuring it for the purpose of it's an investment, then measure it against that, right? And before I pass to Vuguza, there's one more thing I'll just add on to that. Be very clear about what you're buying. And the more complex the thing you're buying, the harder it is to evaluate. So for example, I was at the bank the other day and they were like, without saying what bank it is, they were like, hey, have I told you about this investment? So I was like, so I look at investments like in a really straightforward. I'm like, how much, what's the return? Right? They're like, it's 4%. I was like, that doesn't beat inflation. I'm losing money by doing that. And I know your fixed deposit does better than that, so why would I bother? Fixed deposit type investment, right? So why would I bother doing this thing that I know doesn't beat inflation, and you have another investment that I can take instead that's better than it? And they're like, but it also has insurance. But I have insurance separately. So the more complex a thing is, the harder it is for you to evaluate as a thing. So whenever someone asks you, do you want to do this investment, measure it as an investment. Don't measure it as an investment that's also an insurance product, that's also a house. Like, don't do that. You see that again with houses, right? People buy houses for different reasons. Some people will buy a house as an investment, then measure it as an investment. What's a typical return on houses? It's It's 8% in Kenya, right? Yeah. So it's about 8% in terms of house. It's lower. Okay, cool. So it's lower, somewhere in the range of 8%, could be lower, right? But measure it against that and then decide what's the risk on this, what's the return on this, am I happy with this? Then do it as an investment, right? Other times you buy a house as a place to live. That's very different because how you price a place to live is very different from how you price an investment, and how you evaluate that is very different. Because if all you're buying is a place to live, then there are many ways to structure that. You could just pay a really long-term lease and just pay your landlord, say, I commit to renting in this place for the next 10 years. You don't need to buy a house, right? So knowing what you're buying, if you're buying an investment, then measure it as an investment and measure it against that. And if you're buying a place to live, then measure it against that and find what is the most money-efficient way to measure this place to live. Yeah. And you see, I could rant on this forever. I'll just pan to focus.
I just wanted to add a few more points because I do agree. If you don't know about the industry you're investing in, you are speculating at the end of the day. So I'm an investment professional, yes, but I really don't like investment jargon. I like talking in ways we can understand and with examples we can use. So with the Facebook example, for instance, and with any stock actually, the one thing that investment professionals say is the thing about risk and return. And we never actually talk about what risk there is. And that's another thing when we're talking about whether you're investing or speculating. Sometimes who even knows what speculating is? But sometimes it just goes down to what do you know about this company? So for instance, with Facebook, what do you know about the way the regulation will change in the States? Let's even forget Facebook. Let's use a Kenyan example. I had a friend, I'll give you an example. I had a friend who's very good at buying stocks, worked for, what's the Chase Bank broker? Genghis. He has a lot of experience with stocks and has made very many people money. And he's a Warren Buffett aficionado. That's all he follows, that's all he thinks about. And the one thing that we talk about is intrinsic value. Buy when the stock is low, kind of. But how do I explain intrinsic value in a very... Yeah, what's the actual value in terms of even cash flows, right? So if you are investing in stocks last year, for instance, you saw Deacons, and you saw, what's this other one that went down? Let's just use Deacons. Yeah, or Uchumi back then. And you'd look and say, oh yeah, Uchumi is the biggest supermarket right now. The Kenyan population is growing. All these fancy things we say. But what brought Uchumi down? Governance. So if you don't know anything about the governance, and I'm really passionate about this topic because I think we lose a lot of money investing in things we don't understand. So if you don't know anything about the governance, maybe talk to an MFI to give you a fixed deposit.
What's an MFI?
A microfinance institution to give you a fixed deposit. Okay, no, actually don't even talk to an MFI because you don't know how to analyze them. Talk to a regulated bank. Maybe if you can, I don't think they can give you the same returns, but my point is, at the end of the day, you'd rather keep your principal or keep your capital than lose it trying to invest in things you don't know. Because what's the first rule? Don't lose your principal. And the second rule is don't forget the first rule. So yeah, that's what I would say in terms of investing and speculation.